Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about brushable hair.
Yep, all day.
3 hours of brushable hair. No. Actually, we're going to talk about classic She-Ra, one of Geeky's favorite subjects, and we're going to talk a little bit about her fabulous secret origin.
Well, it's not very secret, but we'll talk about the origin.
Well, a lot of people don't understand exactly where she came from.
Yes, and it's, we'll talk about the origin, and we'll talk about it in relation to certain comments that keep perpetuating over and over again that we're seeing a lot of.
Yeah, both on our channel in the comments and on many blogs. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding.
Yes, I think so too.
Of where She-Ra came from and who was involved in creating her and what she represented.
But before we get into that, and before we talk about the thing on the screen, I wanted to address a couple comments that keep happening on the She-Ra videos because okay. So, the first comment I'm going to address is, but I like She-Ra, the new She-Ra. And I'm like, you know what? As we've stated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, but you'd have to actually listen to the videos before you comment, is that you are allowed to like it. People are allowed to like the new show. Just like people like us are allowed to not like the new show. The difference is, if you like the new show and you say you like the new show, I am not going to go to you and harass you for liking it. That cannot be said in reverse. If you don't like it, I'm getting a lot of harassment for not liking it. But if you like it, you're allowed to like it. Good for you. I think most people wish they could like it. I think that, people don't want to hate it. They want it to be happy, so... good for you.
Well, I think it's the vitriol, like the not being allowed to have any criticism of this show that actually can sour someone who has been on the fence about it, sour them against anything that might actually be good about the show. Immediately your back is up because you're like, oh my god, these people will not let you not like certain things about the show.
Which ties into my next comment. The entire idea of, if you cannot say anything nice, don't say anything at all, okay? That one really irks me, because if that was the case, then there'd be a lot of people who should have shut their mouth months ago when they immediately started with, okay, people don't like the new design. Well, that's obviously because you're a misogynist pervert who, obviously likes to get off on She-Ra. Or, well, if you can't say nice, you shouldn't have said that. Or the people that even working on the show, the voice actors, were bashing the original voice actors. If you can't say anything nice, you shouldn't have said that. The entire PR push was geared at how crappy the original was and compared to the Mobius Miyazaki version of the new one. Don't overpromise, you overpromise. But beyond that, the whole PR campaign was to crap on the original fans. And if you didn't like it, there was something wrong with you. Obviously, if you like the old show, something is fundamentally wrong with you. And that led to, I think, most of the backlash. I think people would have been like, I don't like it, it's not for me, whatever. But because of the constant, slapping people down if they like the original, I think that had more to do with the backlash than anything. Well, yeah, and that's really it. I mean, really, and this is kind of the same with Star Wars too, where how the studios interact with the fandom really determines whether or not they will at least give it a new version of whatever sequel or a reboot a chance. And I think right out of the gate, the people at DreamWorks behind She-Ra, at least the marketing department, has been very combative. And well, the voice actors were even making fun of. Yeah. So my point is, you can't go around telling people who don't like it, if you can't say nice, you should just keep your mouth shut, when they are reacting to all the shit that's been shoveled at them prior by the PR people, by some of the voice actors, by people who like the show that were telling them you cannot dislike the show. I mean, so if you can't say anything nice, it's a two-way street. And I'd say pot or kettle, but you get to be pot because I already claim kettle. Okay. Kettles are loud. I think I deserve the kettle. So you know what? I just want to get that out of the way first. Are you allowed to like She-Ra? Yes. We have said that repeatedly. We don't care if you like She-Ra. Good for you. I wish more people wish we could like it. I don't like it. Sorry. You're allowed to like it. We will not harass you in any way for liking it ever. And my other comment was, if you can't say anything nice, is a load of crap. It's a cop-out, because the same people who are saying if you can't say nice, you shouldn't say anything, are the ones on Twitter whining about other things. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, is bullcrap. So, and especially you can't use that after people that are already presenting the show have already if you can't say nice, shouldn't have said anything at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of the goodwill toward some of the folks behind the show has already been pissed away at this point, and then they doubled down on making fans out to be the problem.
Yeah, they could have. It could have been resolved, but just behaving in a certain way. They didn't do that. I mostly blame the PR department for this. They could have done better about handling that. They didn't. And now it's just ridiculous. So don't go around telling people if you can't say nice, don't say anything when you yourself are not saying anything nice. So anyway, I got that out of the way. Those are my two things I want to talk about because I keep getting those comments over and over and over again.
Basically, you're getting comments from people who are blindly defending the show without actually watching the videos.
Right.
I mean, we've gotten comments before within a couple of minutes of posting a video. I'm like, you didn't even have time to watch the video. You're just on here to piss all over the comment section.
Because we've said repeatedly, if you like it, that's fine. You can. We just don't like it.
No.
And apparently, you're not allowed to not like the show, or the new show. You're not allowed to not like the new show, but you can shit all over the old one all you want. Apparently. Yeah,
and that's what I think we're going to talk about is kind of the origin of She-Ra. And, you know, hopefully after this, after Geeky talks about where She-Ra came from, who was involved in creating She-Ra, what She-Ra means to the people who worked on both the toy line and the show, maybe you'll have a little more respect. Maybe you'll have a little more respect, and you'll think before you badmouth the people who worked on the original.
Okay. So that leads us to this. So this is a documentary on Netflix. There are lots of good things on Netflix, including the original She-Ra and this documentary. So it's talking about basically how He-Man came to be. I think a lot of people know the story. It's like they had, you know, they were trying to compete with Kenner. So they had these different toy lines, and it was Mark Taylor had a design for some different characters, and they presented it. And they end up picking the character he called He-Man, and then they retold it and stuff. And then I thought one thing that was interesting was they took inspiration from comic books. Hence, that's why his legs are the way they are. They aren't like this static, stiff, straight, forward-facing figure. The reason they're so dynamic and positioned is because of comic books.
Yeah, they well, I mean, a huge inspiration for the original Masters of the Universe line was actually Frank Frazetta artwork with a very dynamic anatomy, and they wanted the figures to be very different from the Kenner Star Wars
stuff
figures.
you haven't seen before.
Yeah, and really, Masters of the Universe, when they came out, there wasn't anything like them. Because at that point, the only action figures they really had out were like the G.I. Joe sized dolls and the Mego dolls and, you know, 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures.
Right.
So there was nothing like He-Man when it came out.
It was new. So it kind of came from comic books. I guess Mark Taylor was a big comic book fan. I also thought it was kind of interesting too because they had made the comment that the reason they gave like the little axes and accessories and stuff was because they based it on Barbie. They said Barbie, like the accessories, like make it. You know, when you have those accessories, people want to buy it, and so that's what they took from to put in the figures, like the little extras. Yeah,
that was kind of interesting. So it all kind of comes full circle. But what's funny about it is instead of a hairbrush, He-Man comes with like a battle axe and a shield.
Well, you need that. Some people cut hair with axes in Russia.
They do, yeah. He-Man's hair looks like it was cut with
an axe.
An axe in the dark. He's got that page boy thing going on. It was very interesting to hear this. You know, that they actually got, you know, some of the ideas for how to market He-Man from Barbie dolls, from the Barbie doll line.
Several times they talked about how, and they actually said they wanted She-Ra to compete directly with Barbie as an action figure fashion doll, which we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, they don't want her to compete directly with Barbie.
No, they did. They wanted her to compete directly with Barbie. They said it was weird. They said that.
Really?
They said it in here.
They actually, okay, I missed that part.
Yeah,
so they actually wanted to compete with themselves.
Yeah, because they wanted to corner the market. I mean,
so they had both. They had the fashion dolls and the action dolls.
Right. So because Teela was so popular. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Oh, because Teela. Okay. Blame Teela.
So anyway, one thing I thought was interesting. I'm going to talk more about She-Ra than I am about the Masters of the Universe thing, even though this is mostly about He-Man, the special. I thought it was interesting though. They talked about Larry Houston. Doing the comics when they came over, and go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Larry Houston's. You know, back in the day, he was a well-regarded comic book artist, and he did a lot of the mini comics. He did a lot of the mini comics.
Right, and he was the one kind of come up with the stories and stuff that putting it together. Now, I want to point out that he is a person of color. He is not a white guy doing the stories. And I loved he had a quote, and I thought this was very interesting. Now, this is back in the day, you know, way back when, you know.
Early 80s.
Yes, you know.
The dark ages.
Because diversity and inclusion did not happen till now. It's a new thing, and we have to make sure that we are on top of that because, you know, we're the trendsetters of this now. No,
it was invented literally in 2016.
Yeah.
It was
no,
installed all, you know, straight white folks until 2016.
Because Larry Houston, one thing he did, and I thought was very nice. Now the toys were limited, so what he did was he would make sure he included diversity in the comics. And here's a quote, a direct quote from him from the special. I just decided that I wanted to try and expand the world of He-Man so people and kids can see that it was like inclusive of all different races. And so different people buying the toys could see themselves in the book. You mean representation? Yes. I want a character like me? I thought that was new. I thought they invented it now.
That was, they told, yeah. And it's funny because the comics he worked on were actually the very early comics. He worked on some of the very, very first comics. And so Masters of the Universe, even though the toy line maybe didn't have the representation it should have, the comics always did.
Plus the characters like Beastman and
what race is he?
I mean,
Mossman.
Yeah, Stinkor. I mean, Skeletor. What Skeletor? You know what I'm saying? He's a skeleton. We all look the same underneath. So
he was a blue-skinned wizard named Keldor.
Are you gonna? I know. Are you gonna do your Skeletor voice?
No.
Aw.
I just want to be people too.
You're so bad at it. I make you do it because it's hilarious. Okay, so the special talks a lot about, you know, basically for He-Man, there was a toy first, and then they turned around and they went and got Filmation, and it was, you know, Lou Scheimer, Erica Scheimer. And
from Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Lou Scheimer's from Pittsburgh.
So they decided, well, originally, here's what's even more interesting. The people listening, I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but they did a little like commercial thing for the toys and stuff, and they did a little animation for it.
They did a pitch, like a pitch. Yeah.
And it was directed by a misogynist. No, it was directed by a woman.
Yes.
A woman did it.
A lot of people don't realize that.
A lot of people, actually, I think on here do.
On here they would, but like
Gwen Wetzler was an animation director for Filmation. She directed the promo that sold the entire Masters of the Universe series, and she directed pretty much the first season. Yeah,
she was in Lou Scheimer, who from Pittsburgh, very progressive guy. He made sure that Gwen got to be in charge of. She was in charge of Masters of the Universe. The first season of He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, and I believe the second season was actually his daughter.
It was.
Yes.
And here's the thing, you know, because women having to fight to get attention and work in animation is so hard and so bad, and you know, women today are finally breaking through.
Finally, after it's never happened.
This
before,
one tells stories how back then male directors would come in and wouldn't even, they just stick stuff on her desk and wouldn't even talk to her. They wouldn't even work with her. Refused.
Yeah, it was really interesting to watch. Lou had to fight to get Gwen, you know, to put her in. But a lot of people, I don't think they realize it. The misogynist, you know, whatever He-Man was actually the first season was.
And one of the things that they had him commenting on too was the fact that he said he wanted to make sure that the name didn't turn off little girls, so girls would like it too. And it was important to him that girls liked it as much as, you know, the girls liked it like boys. And that Teela was really popular. Teela was popular with girls and with boys. Yeah,
I think that's probably because Teela in the comics originally, she was kind of a B-list character. She wasn't really a major. Well, now in the original book, she started out as she was the sorceress originally, and then they made it that sorceress was her mother, and then they made her.
Well, spoiler. No,
yeah, she only had like 30-some years to watch the show, and they made her kind of her own character. But I think the reason that they had her, you know, like constantly by He-Man's side was basically so there was a strong female role model there too.
Right. They wanted. He said he was worried that the title being so you know, manly, it was going to turn little girls off, and he didn't want that to happen. So so yeah, we had Gwen directing the first season, Erica, his daughter, doing the second season of He-Man, and then He-Man got really popular because they did such a great job with it. So they turned around, and the networks decided they want another show. So they decided they would do a show for girls, and they didn't know it was going to be called She-Ra then. They just knew they wanted to do a girl line. So what they did was they brought in this woman they called Justine Danzer. She was worked on Star Shortcake and Glamour Gals at Kenner. And they called
you can see the Glamour Gals influence definitely in She-Ra.
You could probably skip ahead to some pictures if you wanted to. Glamour Gals at Kenner, and she was brought in.
Here, wait. Oh, there we go. We're finding. Looking for She-Ra.
It goes back further. You're too far.
Yeah, we're too much into the He-Man. There we go. There we go.
There we go. So they brought her in, and she had been working on these designs on her own, but she didn't have a place to use them. So they brought her in. She did some sketches. They said they wanted to have an action doll line based on Teela. So she did some sketches for it, and they tried different names for it. They had Sheila, Hera, but they knew but the women, including this Janice Varney Hamlin, who was the director of marketing at Mattel.
Yep, I had it pulled up straight there.
She said they wanted a female pronoun. The women working on this, wanted a female pronoun. So they decided to go with the name She-Ra because she instead for he, and Ra because Sun God Ra.
Yeah, and that was I think Larry DiTillo came up with the final name, but for the most part, She-Ra was primarily a female creation.
Right. So they had to hire this woman, this Justine Dancer, to do the character designs. Now, after they got the preliminary character designs approved, they told her she no longer had to base it on Teela, that she could do whatever the heck she wanted. And that's where we got these from. Now, they didn't just come this way. Okay, now this is a problematic She-Ra now.
This is the problematic
She-Ra, yes. Everybody complains about. Now, before we even go into this, everybody in this documentary are so proud of what they've done. They're so excited about what they've done.
It's crazy. I mean, you're watching this and you see the animators, the people who worked on the show, Erica Scheimer, beaming. I mean, just absolutely glowing over the work that they did
and how
on
important
the show.
It was to them.
And how important it was for the time. I mean, He-Man and She-Ra were incredibly popular. They were, for the time, they're very progressive shows.
Well, I have some quotes to hear in a minute.
Yeah, and to have the new regime come in and immediately wipe their ass with the work that these people did and run them down publicly is disgraceful. Like they have, be like, oh, that's cheesy cartoons. Filmation, you know what? They did reuse stock footage, whatever. They still had a huge impact on American animation.
Well, the reason they reused it was because they were doing so much, because they didn't just do 13 episodes. Oh, no, they had it 5 days a week.
65 episodes.
Yeah.
And do you know why they did it? They did a 65 episode order. They sold 65 episodes because Lou Scheimer wanted to make sure his animators could work all year round. So they could work all year round.
They reused some stock footage and stuff like that. Oh, well, you know what I mean? They reused, you know what, for all that, they reused stock footage. Oh, they copy and pasted in the new one. I saw it repeatedly.
Some Photoshop
and the copy and pasting.
Stuff going on.
Several copy and pasting places. Okay, so basically, these are some quotes from people who worked on She-Ra. Okay, this is Erica Scheimer. There was more to She-Ra than being just female version. One of the important things was to respect and show what is female. Respect and show what is female. It wasn't just aping He-Man. We gave her different powers that were more reflective of feminine sides. We didn't want to pigeonhole, so she didn't want to determine what's feminine, what's masculine.
Right.
But we wanted to showcase what is more inherently a girl kind of thing. You mean that the problematic stuff that they have a problem with, having boobs, being pretty, having long hair, being, powerful yet feminine.
Yeah, I know. And I'm looking through here, look at all the women. Look at all the women who worked on the show, who are incredibly proud of the work that they did. Only to have the people at DreamWorks, basically call all their work shit.
Well, no, the PR people call all the work shit. But and what gets me too is I'm not even blaming it all on them. I'm blaming it on everybody who's having a huge backlash over people didn't like the original design. They didn't like the new design of the She-Ra, and immediately they got labeled all these things because clearly She-Ra's just made for misogynists. She's clearly just made for men to whack off to, except they were deliberately trying to make her a female. Now it gets better. Hold on. So then Justine Dancer talks about she should present a feeling of strength, not a feeling of high-heeled, can't hardly move slimness. And that became a point of discussion in several meetings. Men would say, oh my God, look at those legs, when I would show the drawings. And there were times when I was very disgusted hearing about men's opinions on women's bodies. Janice came and said, so making her a little more fuller-lipped and even more wide-eyed and giving her stronger facial features. And it was hard to get to that. They had to go through tear sheets and all kinds of stuff. Said it couldn't look like a fashion model or a runway model. She had to be strong and look strong in the face. So they deliberately went out of the way to make her not those things.
Yeah.
They went out of their way to make her not super pretty, super runway model, super skinny. She was made to be a more body positive, stronger female version. That was the point.
Yeah, she was never made to be a runway model. I mean, she wasn't Barbie.
She wasn't made to be a stripper, as everybody keeps calling. That's what I hear all the time, the stripper. No, these women went to bat and went to meetings where they were told, oh my gosh, you can't have a girl look like that. To fight to make a strong female character that was a strong, that she looked like the way she did. She looks the way she did because these women fought for her to look the way she did.
Yeah.
But we got pissed all over that because it's all misogyny.
It's utter bullshit. I mean, it's just so. I mean, seriously, especially with DreamWorks, your PR people, do they even know where the hell She-Ra came from? Do they even know the history? The people working on the show, do you know the history of She-Ra and where she came from and why, how they arrived at what she was and what she stood for? Why the hell do you shoot your mouth off like this?
Yeah,
why you disrespect the women, including LGBTQ women? Eric Scheimer is LGBT. Why do you disrespect them?
Right. And the thing is, and not just even wanting to create this. I mean, there's so many women who are like me and men as well who just love She-Ra because they like classic She-Ra because they like the way she looked. They felt that she, in some way was their role model. Now you keep going on about this being a role model for girls and boys, your new version. Okay, that's fine. Your new version can be a role model for girls and boys, but so was the original version. Just because you find it problematic does not mean that a lot of people find it problematic as well. And that's the heart of the matter. You found it problematic. To these people you're calling it problematic, you find it problematic, but a lot of people don't find it problematic because to them, she was a role model. To them, to me, she was, she showed that women could be strong and kind and a friend. Exact same thing you're trying to show now. It's just that she did it, this way, and she looked this way, and apparently that's problematic.
So that she looks like a stripper? Is that? I mean,
that's what I keep saying. She
doesn't look like a stripper to me.
I mean, she's not just as many clothes on as the new version does.
She's got more clothes than Wonder Woman usually has on. I mean.
Oh wait, they're gonna probably find a way to ruin that too.
Well, they have. They've tried. They've tried putting pants on her and everything.
So they go on about this too. Dancer said she was powerful. She had to be powerful. So she had to have the capacity to take care of herself. Because she was meant to, she wasn't supposed to be, shielded by He-Man. She was supposed to stand shoulder to shoulder with He-Man. And actually, the complaints they got was she was too strong compared to He-Man. She was more badass than He-Man.
She actually, I think in the show, a lot of times she actually seemed like she was stronger than He-Man, and her sword could actually change into different things. He-Man's couldn't. He-Man.
Well, there was a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Okay, there's a whole. Okay, I'm gonna explain this. And then the other complaint is, well, she couldn't really fight, and she uses lame powers and stuff. Well, okay, here's the reason why. There was actually a reason for this. This was not the choice of Filmation. Filmation wanted her to do more with her sword. They wanted her to fight. But the time period, they had these consultants who came in, and basically because she was a female, she wasn't allowed to. I have that in here. She wasn't allowed to. Kick butt. They said rather than J. Michael Straczynski.
Yeah.
I said rather than punching someone, she would do a ballet style kick and almost accidentally hit somebody so they could never use a sword. She was never allowed to use a sword to hurt someone. It irritated him and Larry Dattilo because they wanted to create characters that were strong female characters, and they always felt that rule was bullcrap and it wasn't fair to women. So these men were there trying to make a story that was strong female character, and they were hindered by criteria at the time.
Yeah.
So why was it lame and didn't do the things she could do now? Because she wasn't allowed. They weren't allowed to then. And then what gets me too is they talked about this one person in the special talked about how they were so excited when She-Ra came out, because when She-Ra came out, the animation was like that was their best. Like they were like the animation quality was so much better than He-Man when they got to She-Ra, and how they're pumping out these great work and they're so proud of it. We get to piss all over it.
Yeah, actually, and you look at She-Ra compared to like the first season of Masters of the Universe, and you can see how much Filmation had grown. Now, you know, of course, they made a lot more money because they made a bunch of money off of He-Man, but they had years basically of practice on He-Man, and then when they got to She-Ra, you know, it was a lot more complicated. The character designs were more complicated. You know, you had the Horde with, like, you know, the Fright Zone, all these crazy vehicles, you know, whereas He-Man would be like, you know, He-Man in the woods with Beastman or something.
Well, yeah, He-Man was the characters, the toys first and the story second. She-Ra was right from the beginning, story first. She was a polished product. And, you know, yes, was she cheesy in places? Yes. But so was the new one.
So is every show from that era. I mean,
you know, just, any show, even now. Does it have its cheesy moments? Yeah. And the thing is, it's just, you know, that's the way it is. But is it the crap fest they claim it is? No. Not at all. It dealt with, is she one-dimensional and flat? No.
No.
And they dealt with, like, a lot of topics just the same as they claim they do on the show today. I mean, it's stop pissing on the old one to elevate the new one. There
was more weight to a lot of the episodes than the new She-Ra. I mean, they had episodes with book burnings in it. They had episodes that actually dealt with genocide and boots, but mostly genocide. But there were some pretty dark episodes, and the thing about the original She-Ra is it felt like they were actually waging war. The new show doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like the Horde is any kind of a threat.
No, really. It doesn't really.
It's just like they're a bunch of doofy teenagers.
Yeah, like in the old show, you know, they wouldn't waltz in. They wouldn't want to have a prom, and if they did, they wouldn't invite Horde members to the prom.
No.
You know, it's just like I don't even.
Stakes were much higher in the old show. Definitely, they weren't having freaking pillow fights and slumber parties and garbage like that.
She wasn't allowed to kick anybody's ass and use a sword, but yet she still kicked ass. I mean, comparatively speaking.
Yeah, you know I mean, she could pick up entire, like, ships. She's picked up ships and thrown them like nothing, and you know, yeah, it's really insulting. It's really insulting how they're trying to run it down.
And then I wanted to say one more thing about the show. They talked about that Larry DiTillo, who was one of the writers for She-Ra, talked about. He said the boys liked it too. You know, I was surprised by that. They enjoyed it. I think with She-Ra, we learned to bring men and women closer together and what they liked about fantasy worlds. I mean, men are allowed to like the same things women are, and it's okay. I mean, it's not women are supposed to like tell men what they can and can't like, and they're ally. They're just support, right?
Yeah, your hero support. Like Bo.
Your hero support. Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's funny you mentioned that because actually I think there were actually more male characters on the original She-Ra than there was, you know, obviously in the new one. I think, you know, Bo and Seahawk and Hordak, and that's basically it. You know, it's like, and then the doofy teenagers that are in the Horde. But yeah, I mean, I used to watch it. Every afternoon because it came on. It was part of it. They had the Power Hour. It was He-Man and then She-Ra, and it was where I was at. It was 4 to 5 o'clock. So I always watched both. And then He-Man, you know, he would cross over into She-Ra, and you know, I have a confession. I had a She-Ra and a Bo.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I had too.
I mean, I had a ton of Masters of the Universe characters, but I also had a She-Ra and a Bo.
So did a lot of boys.
So. You know, because I like
well, She-Ra was on the show. I mean, they were crossing over each other all the time. Of course, you'd have one. If you had a Teela, you could have a She-Ra. Who cares?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it was basically Teela with rooted hair.
You know what? Back then, though, yes, because it was brushable.
Yeah, it was
brushable.
Back
then, though, if you remember, back then, people weren't so ridiculous about this boys and girls thing as they are now.
No, that's like a lot of toys.
All the boys wanted Cabbage Patch Kids, same as the girls. All the boys wanted them too. Care Bears, boys and girls. No Dibble, thank God. But, you know, boys and girls wanted the same things, and it was fine. On Facebook the other day, they were talking about an article or an advertisement for Legos and talking about how boys can like houses. Maybe to them that's more interesting than rocket ships, and girls can like rocket ships because maybe them that's more interesting than houses, and that's okay. And that was back like in the 70s and 80s, because back for all their, you know, there's more. I think there's more of a fight over what's gender what now than there was then. It's really insane.
No, I remember when I was a kid, like all the kids in the neighborhood. I mean, the girl that lived next door, she played with Star Wars toys with her brother. And, you know, everybody, boys and girls, you know, they wanted Cabbage Patch Kids, they wanted Care Bears.
Right.
You know, Teddy Ruxpin, I mean, was kind of a...
Oh, G.I. Joe. Everybody
played G.I. Joe. I knew girls that had Scarlet.
Yeah, we did. That's one time I liked my red hair when I was younger. I hated it. I was like, I loved it then because we need a Scarlet. Get over here. And I come running like, yeah, I get to be included and I have red hair. But, you know, this seems like there's more divide now than there was then. And they're talking about how it brought everybody together and how everybody liked it. And so to my point of all this is this. Can you like the old show and the new show? Yes. Can you like the new show? Yes. Can you like the old show? Yes. There is nothing wrong with you on any of those, for any of those things. I mean, that's just a matter of a taste. I don't like the new show. I just don't like it. I tried it. I don't like it. It's not for me, apparently, and that's fine. But I like the original. But there's nothing wrong with me for not liking the new show. It doesn't make me some kind of whatever you want to label me as because I don't like the new show. I don't like the new show. Somebody the other day said that I was anti... What they say I was you know... I was a homophobe or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm like, you don't know me, because if you know me, you'd know it wasn't true. Because we have close friends who are not everybody we know is straight. Let's put it that way. And it's ridiculous to even indicate that because someone doesn't like this new She-Ra, it's immediately because of that. I don't like the new She-Ra because I think she looks like crap in the new one, and I don't like the way they made her, Bo, and Glimmer kind of like total best friends club, party, pillow fight, prom. I don't like that. I'm sorry.
I'll be honest, the new show, from my perspective, take it or leave it. I know there are a lot of people like, oh, I don't care, you're just some old dude. From my perspective, has actually made She-Ra a weaker, incompetent female character, a weak character compared to the strong She-Ra and what they were going for originally. They made her just an average doofy teenager, and it takes away her strength. It takes away what was special about her, I think. I mean, it's my opinion.
The thing is, this is where it comes down to, like, where people about source material, and it's just like the Gem, like we talked about Gem before, the Gem movie, no, but the comics I guess are really good, and they actually went and got the story Bible and talked to people who worked on it and explained so they understood the characters, so they can make it an updated version. And they can make some changes, but still keep it that it felt like the original. This one just does not feel like the original at all. It just doesn't even feel like it. And that's what, you know, that's the thing. Is it the worst show ever? No, I don't think so. But do I think it's She-Ra? No, I don't think it's She-Ra. I mean, I'd probably give it like a 2 or 3 out of 5, but probably 2.5 out of 5, because there were some things I like. I do like some characters. I like Catra better on the new one. I do like Catra better.
Yeah, she was basically the original Catra was basically Catwoman from the '66 Batman show.
Yeah, this Catra I think is a better character on the new show. I will give it that. And there's a couple. I like the Madame Raz episode. I actually like Madame Raz on this one. I mean, there were some things I liked about this one. But do I think it's the worst thing ever? No. Do I think it's She-Ra? No. I think it's She-Ra name only. It does not feel like She-Ra. Like Gem, the movie was Gem and name only. It didn't feel like Gem. However, the comics feel like Gem. It has to feel the same. This does not feel the same.
Yeah, this, I mean, and we've said before in, you know, numerous She-Ra videos, but I think if this show were not, the new show were not called She-Ra and we didn't have that expectation, it would get more of a pass. But beyond that, you know, what really sours it for me is the disrespect shown to,
that's what I was gonna get to, yeah,
the people who worked so hard on the show, so hard on this concept, which was at the time very progressive and very groundbreaking. And
they had to fight tooth and nail to get it put through because they had so many restrictions. Like they weren't allowed to. The reason, you know, Skeletor got those. They said they had to find new ways to defeat Skeletor without killing him because they weren't allowed to, because violence in TV. And She-Ra wasn't allowed to fight like she should be able to fight because of, but she still kicked ass and still come across as awesome with those restrictions is amazing. And I guess my thing is, if you can take something and make it a new version of it, but you always should be respectful to the original version, because you would have nothing to work with if it wasn't for the original version. Yeah. And I think the lack of respect is, I think, the biggest problem here, I think, that there is with this whole thing. So the reason we wanted to talk about this is we wanted to explain where this came from and how it was not a product of misogyny. They actually had to fight misogyny to get to this point. She is not a stripper. She doesn't look like a stripper. I mean, they look different. They're different. She's not a stripper. She's not problematic. They wanted to find things that are inherently feminine. They didn't want to, like, you know, pigeonhole, but there are things that are inherently feminine. I don't care if you take 100 women and maybe 10 of them, like, you know, are gonna like things that aren't feminine. 90% of them are. I'm sorry. It's just the rule of numbers, and it's just the way it is. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just thinking, you know, again, She-Ra, for the most part, was created by women. She-Ra was created by women.
And the men that did work on it were very conscious of trying to make sure that they were making a strong female character, and they wanted to appeal to boys and girls, and they were trying to write a good character for both. They were trying to be fair.
Yeah, and it just blows my mind that there were so many people out there, you know, painting the original show in such a negative light. It was very groundbreaking, very progressive. You know, it's frankly, I mean, I can see why Melanie Britt, who was the original voice actress of She-Ra, she was there. You know, she's probably watching people she worked with and she knew how hard they worked on the show, watching them be run down in public by DreamWorks PR people. It's absolutely disgusting.
Right, and it's not right. So are you allowed? So back to what I was saying. Are you allowed to like it? Yes. Are you allowed to hate it? Yes. There's nothing wrong with you either way. We are not going to ever say anything to you for liking it. Apparently we don't get that same kind of respect back, but whatever. You're allowed to like it. It is completely fine. But stop saying things like, oh, well, you don't like the new She-Ra because you're a, you know, homophobe, racist, misogynist, whatever. No, I don't like the new She-Ra because I don't like it. It's not She-Ra to me. I mean, she does, you know, she has a name She-Ra and that's about it. You know, it's not the same thing. But you are allowed to like it and that is completely fine. But the original She-Ra is still my favorite, and I'm gonna tell you it's better. But that's just me.
Yeah.
You can like the new one though. But
yeah, you're allowed to. You're allowed to. You know, if you're just, you know, absolutely in love with new She-Ra, we're old heads, and you know, this probably isn't the channel for you because we do talk a lot about things from the 80s and 90s, and you know, it's just, you know, go find another channel, I guess. You know, hate to see you go, but we're not gonna change our opinion.
Right. So anyway, so we just wanted to tell you a little bit of history about it. Wanted to explain to you, you know, where it came from, how it, you know, the look of her, that everybody has a problem with the look of the original She-Ra. They had to fight to get that look, fight to get her strong, fight to get her not a runway model, fight to you know, not have her super slender and skinny in heels. They had to fight for all that. So when you were making these comments, well, she's just a bimbo in heels, she's a stripper. These guys had to fight to get her the way she looked.
Yeah, and that was women. Fighting to make her look feminine and not.
They had to fight the
trampy
misogyny to get her to that point.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, it's misogyny. No, this was the result of fighting misogyny. So at least, you know your history before you go making those comments.
Yeah. So the documentary is actually really good.
Yeah, watch the documentary. It's
it's
really
on
good.
Netflix. The Power of Grayskull: The Definitive History of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. There is probably about 20 minutes or so they dedicate to She-Ra. They actually spent a lot of time on She-Ra.
Yeah, they spent more time on the movie though.
Yeah, the movie is just embarrassing.
They even talk about up to the classics figures that Mattel did.
Yeah, this was, I mean, it's very current. I think it just came out last year or the year before, so it's pretty recent. They have the classics.
It was this year.
No,
2017.
Oh,
so maybe it is.
Okay. They had a Kickstarter for it. For it, I remember. But yeah, it's pretty current. They do not mention the new She-Ra show necessarily by name. I think they mentioned about the franchise evolving for future generations.
I don't think when they put this together, they really knew what was going on.
I don't think they had any indication. Look
how pretty Swiftwind is. I like Swiftwind. That's Swiftwind. The new Swiftwind scares me.
New Swiftwind is Donkey from Shrek.
Oh my god, he is. He's like
a donkey from Shrek. Okay.
He's a glammed up donkey. So anyway, so like we said, are you allowed to like it? Yes. Are we allowed to not like it? Yes. Are we allowed to like classic She-Ra better? Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add to this conversation?
No.
I mean, I know we're gonna get comments that are gonna be like, "Oh my god, you."
No, we're not even gonna listen to the video and say the same things again.
Yeah, within 2 minutes of playing the video, you'll be ranting.
Mattel, please, those dolls. If you get hold of me, I'll give you my address. You know, it's like, I want them, please.
The classic. I think they'll do it. I think they will do it. I think there is enough interest in the classic line to do it.
Catra and Glimmer and Natasha and any other ones you want to do. Even the He-Man, Masters of the Universe ones, Tila, He-Man. Again, if you want someone to pimp them for you, just contact me. I will gladly just make sure I can have a little brush so I can brush their hair. We're good.
Okay. So we're going to wrap this one up, guys. Thanks so much for watching Clownfish TV. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and you know, check out the channel. We've got more pop culture news, views, and rants. Lots of rants.
Sorry.
Gaming videos, art videos, and more. This has been Neon and Geeky.
Okay, bye.
We will talk later.